Morning, y'all. This is View from the Pew. It is Tuesday morning, October 13th. It's a beautiful day outside today, and I hope you'll enjoy God's creation at some point during the day. We're looking at the commands of Christ, and specifically, we're looking at the implied commands from the woes that Jesus gives the Pharisees and the scribes, and he calls them hypocrites. And we're 6 down, 2 to go. And the number 7 woe is a lot like number 6. It has to do with keeping making sure the inside is clean and the outside will take care of itself. That was number 6. But there's a little bit of nuance difference, and I would put it this way. You make sure that you are alive on the inside. It's not just about being clean. It's not just about being sanitized. There needs to be life. There needs to be life. Now listen to what Jesus says. He says, woe to you. This is verse 27 of Matthew 23. He says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which indeed appear beautiful outwardly, but inside are full of dead men's bones and all uncleanness. Even so, you also outwardly appear righteous to men, but inside you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Number 6. So there's a little bit of nuance, a difference. It's the idea of a whitewashed tomb was this idea. The tombs in Jerusalem, even during the pilgrimage season, you'd go out there and you'd spruce up the tomb. You would spruce up the grave marker. You would clean it up, and it would look really, really nice. But the fact is, a clean grave on the outside or a clean tomb on the outside doesn't make a living body on the inside. And so they would look beautiful, they would look righteous, but to appear righteous is not to be righteous. I want you to remember that. To appear righteous is not to be righteous. The righteous, the just, shall live by faith. To be right is to stand right before God, not before men. You can appear righteous before men, but not be righteous before God and go straight to hell. Or lose your witness toward others who are going straight to hell. So it's an apologetic issue as well. It doesn't matter how well you hold yourself in public. It doesn't matter how righteous or holy you look in front of folks. If you don't stand righteous before God, none of that matters. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, you guys are like beautiful tombs. Beautiful tombs. You look great on the outside, but you're full of death on the inside. And this is what death was to him. You're full of hypocrisy and you're full of lawlessness. Now think about this. The Pharisees were supposed to keep 613 laws that they had prescribed as important for Jewish life. And it's very possible they worked hard to keep those laws. But they were keeping them outwardly. They were not living it inwardly. See, the law of God's intended not to be something etched on stone outside of you. The law of God is intended to be something etched on your heart inside of you. You ought to want to keep the law of God. You ought to want to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And you want to love the law of God. That's what Psalm 119 was all about, loving the law of God inwardly. Not because you have to, but because you get to and because you want to. So I want to challenge you today, believer, and we already know from looking at 1 Peter that Christians can struggle with being hypocrites, and Christians can struggle with keeping the law like we should, not for our salvation's sake. You keep the law because you're a saved man. You keep the law because you're a saved woman. It was the same thing in Exodus 20. In Exodus 20, it starts in verse 1, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. Now, do these 10 commandments. They weren't doing the 10 commandments before they got out of Egypt. They got out of Egypt, and in light of that, they were called to be God's people. So there's nothing wrong with law. Christ is the fulfillment of the law. But you got to understand that hypocrisy and lawlessness are signs of someone who's dead on the inside. So, if Jesus were to stand before you, Jesus were to stand before me, would there be some deadness in us? Not outside. We may look beautiful, but there be some deadness in us. And my word to you is, I guess the command is, don't be a dead man on the inside. Be alive. If the Holy Spirit living within you, be alive on the inside. And let that life flow out of you and to others. So I pray God blesses your Tuesday. I hope you'll join us Wednesday night as we're continuing to go through 1 Peter. We're going to look at that passage in 1 Peter chapter 2 that says you are a chosen generation, a holy priesthood. You are a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people of his own possession. And look at what that means and how it applies to us today. So I hope that you'll join us 6:15 Wednesday night. Really, we want to encourage you to come join us. So God bless you, and you have a great Tuesday.